Okay, belts. So this is a topic of conversation that is largely debated. Do you wear a belt at all? What type of belt? Where do you wear your belt? How tight to tighten your belt? And I'm just going to tell you what I use each belt for that I own. Generally, if I'm doing conditioning workouts, I'm not wearing a belt at all. If there's a chance that I'm going to fatigue and put myself in a position where I'm compromised, maybe high rep clean and jerks, high rep deadlifts, something like that, and I expect maybe fatigue in the midsection, which puts me at risk for a potential back injury, I'm going to use a belt, and there's a certain belt that I'll use. I'll cover that. But let's start with the two different types of belts. There's two generally. There's a nylon belt and then there's a leather belt. Most of the times a leather belt is pretty thick. I think this one is, I think it's 6 inches. It might be 4 inches. But they generally come in two different sizes. And then your nylon belt, there's a million to choose from. And it really is like which one you end up buying based on what you like. So I'll talk about these two real fast. The powerlifting belt, if I'm using a belt performing movements that are more static, so the deadlift, the back squat, the sumo deadlift, the front squat, I'll even wear it on a bench press. I'm gonna wear a powerlifting belt. And this thing provides a ton of support through your midsection. There's no stretch to it basically at all once you get it set. And it's fairly comfortable for me. But they come in two different sizes, at least the ones that Rogue makes do, because a lot of people find that this width will pinch into their rib cage or onto their pelvis because they just don't have that much room between the rib cage and pelvis. So this might be too wide and you might want to go with a smaller one if you're a smaller person. So this guy has a couple disadvantages when you use it. And that's that this stuff right here, all this excess leather, the buckle itself, the little keeper, all of that stuff is going to be in the way of the Olympic lifts because you're going to try to keep that bar as close to your body as possible. And anybody who's done a lot of Olympic lifting knows that this is going to it's going to get struck by the bar, which will change the direction of the bar or the speed of the lift. So probably want to switch over to the nylon belt for that. So let's look at this real fast. There's a million different nylon belts out there made by a bunch of different manufacturers. This is just the one I've had for 10 years or more. I like it because it's got a little bit of a different cut to it. It's not straight. But what I really like about it is it's super light. It's got a little bit of Velcro in it so that if I'm not using the belt quite yet, it's still going to stay on my waist loosely. I can use it with the cam buckle, or I can go without the cam buckle and just go straight over. So there are a couple different options of the way you put this thing on. And this is the one that I would use for conditioning workouts where I might fatigue and end up in bad positions, and this can help remind me to keep my core tight. Also, you're gonna notice that it's a lot flatter when you see it from a profile. So I won't probably strike that if I'm snatching or doing the clean and jerk as easily as that leather belt, okay? So this is the one that I would likely use for conditioning workouts or if I'm doing the clean and jerk and the snatch in particular. So there's that. Now, when to use a belt? Generally, I'm gonna use a belt if I'm lifting over 70% or if I plan on doing a lot of repetitions of a more risky movement. How I put the belt on is also something that there's a lot of debate about and see a lot of people use it differently than I do. Can you crank on this thing so that it's super tight on your core? Yeah, you can. Okay, I can have it like this. I don't see this as being a benefit to wearing a belt at all. And that's because it creates a fulcrum where my body is already being creased that I'm going to bend over, okay? So I don't think this is the proper way to wear a belt. In fact, the way that I wear my belt is actually looser. I can actually move it up and down, but I try to get it in that position, that pocket between my pelvis and my ribs, try to fit it right in there, and I don't want it pinching into the skin. I want it to just snugly fit, and I can move You know, I can stick my thumb in there pretty easily, okay? Now, when I set up and actually use a belt with a bar, if I'm gonna back squat, I'm gonna take the bar out of the rack first and take a step back. Once I get my feet set in the position that I'm ready to squat in, that's where I'm actually going to use this belt. And what I'm gonna do is take a big breath, fill my thoracic cavity with air, and I'm going to pressurize my abdominal cavity with that air and flex the core musculature of my midsection, okay? And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to actually push up against the belt 360 degrees. So it's gonna look like this. And I can't really do that for a lot of repetitions. I could probably get it done for 2 to 3. But generally, I'll pause at the top and reset. So I hope that helps. A couple things about the belts. You got nylon, you got leather. Try to find a leather belt that actually fits your kind of body size. I use this for the Olympic lifts and conditioning. Use this for more powerlifting style movements. Don't over tighten your belt. Actually use your belt to your advantage where you're engaging your core musculature against it. And that can actually help build that core musculature as well. So go out there, put a belt on when you need to, don't when you don't. Don't overthink it. Have fun, lift safely.